there is real things going on. And people want to overlook that. And I'm telling you, Mr. Peterson, I'm not one of those people. And I thank God that, he showed you to me. And sometimes we just need some Jesse in our lives, I guess.
I wish we had more brothers like you. We need more brothers like you. Because we don't have most guys that can, lead black people into the right direction. And I thank you for that, because a lot of people will be like, man, it's still going on. It's racism. Yeah. And I try to tell them, watch his show. Listen to this brother. He's telling the truth.
Take no thought about tomorrow. Yesterday doesn't exist. And you're going to see, man, God is with us and all is well. Anytime you have situations happening in your life, always be still. Don't overreact. Most of the people that I know, they say, oh, I know Jesus. I love Jesus. I'm an observer. And as soon as something don't go their way, they get mad. I'm like, what the? If you overreact, folks, remember to do that. Don't overreact. And when you get mad, it's your problem. It ain't your wife's problem, your husband's problem, your neighbor, your friend, your preacher, your teacher. It's your problem. Why you think you tick? It didn't go your way or the way you think it should go. Don't have a way you think it should go. Let life just happen. Thoughts make you think that life should go the way you want it to go. And if it doesn't, if someone don't do or say or act the way you think they should act, you hate them. And then you blame them for being mad. It's the darndest thing I ever seen. But it's amazing to see it. So relax. We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingaman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home. That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. He's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thank you for tuning in on this fine Wednesday. What a fine Wednesday it is to be back with you today. We got a bit of a show. all sorts of stuff happening, okay? False flags, New York City mayoral race. We'll do that one correctly. Get the nice clip out. You guys might want to know the real details of how that works. Basically, American cities, London's here, but it's not going to collapse. It's just going to slowly get worse. We'll get into all of it. The details are interesting. And look, plenty of other things, okay? I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. So appreciate you being here. What can I say? A pleasure to have you here. And an amazing Wednesday. You know, I'm thinking about anchor babies right now. Trying to make a joke about anchor babies. I'm tired of anchor babies. When I'm president, no Gonzalez will be in the government. I promise you. Vote for me. I'm Anchor Baby Gonzalez, and I promise no more Gonzalez's in the... Wait. That might not work. We're going to have to work on that, but that's definitely the vibes. That's definitely the desires. We'll get into all of it. It's a pleasure to have you here. If you want to call in, you could call in 888-775-3773. If you got something on your mind, something you want to talk about, all the news, something going on in your life, etc., I'm here to listen a little bit. And what else here? Look, my viewers on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Appreciate you being here. What's up, Creighton, Hake, and my members? How you doing, folks on Rumble? Folks on YouTube. You know, my lovely viewers on YouTube. How you doing? Nice to see you, Zenny. We got Canada in the chat. And what else here? Look, of course, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. We released version 1.8.12. Let me know what you guys think. I think the chat is looking pretty nice on punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. All my lovely viewers. Okay, welcome everybody. What can I say? Mr. Pink, Riley, Scaring C, Cloud, Damien, Kilo, Point, Kevin, and the people I'm seeing now and all those that have already chatted in the chat. Thanks for showing some decorum. Thanks for not being rude and just coming in and acting like nobody saw you. We saw you sit down and you're not even going to say hi. It's like we're all thinking about it. Like, we saw you come in, you took your shoes off, you're chilling, and it's like, does this person have any decorum, any home training at all? That's what we're thinking. We're thinking this person has no home. This person is not acting regular. So say hello, click the like button, or just jump into the chat. Talk to the people, say hello, or you say one thing, say hello. It helps the channel. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you don't like. And what else here? Look, it's a pleasure to have you here. Hit that like button. Don't be rude. So it's been an interesting 12, 13, 14 days, no? It's been spicy, interesting, a lot of revealing moments maybe, and definitely education for the Anchor Baby. I mean, there's a lot. I tell you when I don't know stuff, right? And it seems as of now, the ceasefire between Iran and Israel is holding. Can we say the only thing holding this is what? Trump's character, or Trump's harsh words? Who knows? I mean, it's not just words. There's some backing. I mean, the military, America, something backs his words. I mean, come on. But the point is, the ceasefire is holding. Peace is at least temporarily here for some time. And it's been a fast few weeks. It's been a fast few weeks. I was sort of following it. I'd give you some of the main news, but I personally had a lot of questions about what it all means, essentially, what's happening. But in these weeks, these fast few weeks, is it fair to say we've seen different motivations, people who want war, people who don't want war, and this public conflicts about that we've seen. All sorts of very mainstream conservatives, Fox News at times, heavily criticizing the people who just have questions about sending Americans to some war of regime change. I mean, these were all the things that were on the table. They had not happened, but many were wondering, okay? It seems at this point now, for me personally, as a watcher of learning lessons, I saw Trump come out hard against Israel, saying, "Hey, we got this ceasefire going, and then right after you guys choose to drop all these bombs," essentially trying to sabotage a diplomacy for whatever they want, whatever their agenda is. And in many ways, I think about it openly, and I can't really blame Israel or Netanyahu too much for what they want and what they consider their security apparatus. Hey, the strong men do what they do. But this was made clear with Trump recently. You saw him admonishing Israel and calling them out, calling out Iran, but calling them out for dropping everything they had. And that's where we're standing. It's an interesting moment right now. Were panikins revealed, you think, chat? Remember, panikins, a little term Trump came up with for Americans who panic, right? The first news, some conflict, something, they start panicking. And I forget what he said this about initially, but what do you think were the panikins revealed? Oh, no, World War III is happening. Oh, no, Trump is in the pocket of Israel, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's fair, personally. I mean, a lot of people are just people, voters, citizens, whatever, just watching things. I'm not going to start calling them kooky, stupid, and crazy and evil because they had questions about all this. Now, they may still be dumb and the masses, you know how the masses are, they may still fall for dumb things, but I can't just blanketly call them these names like some of these people have been saying for these past few days, like Mark Levin and stuff, calling any of these critics crazy, kooky, paid by Qatar, a stupid bunch. These are all quotes of him. And, you know, without even needing to get into specifics of who these conservatives were calling out, they were just kind of generally talking to this criticism coming from the right wing, Trump, MAGA. They called them fakers, anti-MAGA, etc. So it's been an interesting few days. I'm grateful to see Trump. I mean, it seems to be like here we are having to have some gratitude, I think, even if you're a dissenter, even if you got harsh criticisms, which should be welcome. I mean, imagine calling critics crazy. And it's like, what, you can't speak openly now? What's going on here? But that being said, there's some gratitude I think that has to come from the world in a sense for what essentially is, at least temporarily, it seems in the interim, has put some restraint on this runaway train of the world. It's an angry, angry world. And they want to fight, man. They want war. They want to kill. And maybe some more than others. It depends on what's possible. You know, you notice the world, for most of the people in the world, if it's possible, the incentive is there, they'll do it. And it seems Trump is seeing there's all sorts of incentives for America. I mean, think about the rhinos, the Lindsey Grahams, the people who see this incentive I'm talking about. And Trump, in my opinion, at least in the interim here, we are seeing his character saying no. And in his attempts and all that. So it's been a fascinating few days. We'll keep watching and all that. You know, I'm not like this expert on all this, but I'll give you the news, give you some of my thoughts, at times rambling. But I'll tell you this, when we get into Mamdani, New York City, no rambling, I think it'll be clear. I got the news. I got the info for you. The mayoral race, how it kind of works. I find it kind of interesting. So I will be pivoting in a moment here. Want to get into it. But what can I say? 888-775-3773. I got you guys here in the chat. It's a pleasure to have you here. Nice to see some of you here. Some names I haven't seen. It's nice to see y'all. I'll get to the super chats, the support, and the members and all that. And all that, okay? So amazing. Pleasure to have you here. Look, what shall I do? Let's just jump into Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani. And it's a interesting thing, right? I saw some talk online about this New York City, this incoming New York City mayor. And I saw some talk about it like he had already won and all that. We'll get to that, actually. It's a little bit different. There's a process here, and we're in the middle of it. But the headlines are, basically, Mamdani stuns Cuomo in New York mayoral primary. Zoran Mamdani, a state assemblyman and Democratic Socialist, had a commanding lead over former Governor Andrew M. Cuomo, who conceded in the Democratic primary. And that's basically the news. It's the big loss for Cuomo. I mean, he conceded yesterday night in the face of this big lead. But he isn't mayor yet, essentially. He hasn't quite become the mayor. That's not how it works, basically. The way the mayoral race works in New York is you have primaries. You have this process of primaries, which you're somewhat familiar with in other races. But it's basically an intra-party competition, an intra-party, internal party contest to pick their party's choice. A number of people compete for the nomination for their parties, to run for their party as the mayor for their party. And so basically how it works is they did have a vote, but at this stage, only the registered voters of those parties can go and choose in this primary. So you, I'm sure, saw a lot of videos of New Yorkers going out and voting for this, and basically they were registered voters picking who their Democratic or Republican nominee would be for their party. And basically, once the primaries are picked, a general election is held in November, and that's how it goes, which would include the party candidates and the independents, and you have yourself a little mayoral race as someone becomes mayor, essentially. The thinking here is Andrew Cuomo, he might run as an independent now, as he did not earn the nomination from the Democratic Party. And that's some of the thinking. Zoran Mamdani faces this man, Curtis Silva. I don't know him too well. I don't know much about him at all, to be honest. I just seen this guy. I've seen this guy before, but not in like a professional sense. This person with this red hat, I've seen him in these videos on the internet where, I don't know, they're just pure comedy, and he's just out in like Times Square making like, I don't know, memes, I guess. That's all I've ever seen of him. I thought he was just like a crazy person in the streets, if I'm thinking of the same one. Times Square, I swear he went viral for something. Times Square, we'll come back to this, but I really don't know much about him, but just so you know, this is the Republican candidate over there in New York. And so how the race is basically looking is Cuomo, independent maybe, Curtis here is a Republican, Eric Adams, you remember him, the incumbent. He skipped the primaries running as an independent. A number of reasons there, controversies, etc. Not too important, but you remember Eric Adams, if I may, for those that don't remember. A true New Yorker, maybe. But, yeah, Eric Adams will be in that general election, which will come in November. And so, that's pretty much the state of what's going on here. See, one more thing about this mayoral race, if I may. I mean, New York City is a little unique in that, according to the reports, census stuff I was reading, Democrats outnumber Republicans in the city 7-1. So historically speaking, winning the Democratic primary in New York has been seen historically as already kind of winning that mayoral race. So we'll put it like that. That's pretty much the rundown on the scene here. And I was looking at Zoran Mamdani's campaign and what he's made important in his campaign and his messaging and all that, and what even other Democrats are praising as his affordability messaging. People like Hakeem Jeffries, other basically civil rights losers in the government, praising Mamdani for his messaging, his affordability messaging. And I was just trying to think about what is important to voters in a city. I was just thinking out loud here. When trying to think about this, I'm sure there's this divide. I'm sure there's a big political divide. If you ask most people, it comes down to Trump or not, right? It's like there's a divide, fine. But in the cities, and I think you could compare all the cities in America, the big cities in America, I think it's fair to say that most voters' concerns, and I'll give you some data, I'll give you some harder data on this in a moment, on what the concerns for voters are in the big cities in America. It seems to me like just thinking about this initially, that there's not, that besides the deep political divides when it comes to daily life in the big cities, the average person, they all kind of align in what they find important, what they care about, and what they want to see improve. I have to say that it's probably a lot of the same things. That being said, according to Brookings, Pew, and other things here, the following are these are the main topics for voters in the big cities in America: affordability, cost of living, housing costs, rent hikes, stuff like that, and related concerns of gentrification, displacement of low-income people. So that's one. It's like, wow, yeah, Mamdani is on that. People really care about that. But see, left, right, Republican, pretty much everybody in the city cares about that. Crime and public safety. This is number 2. Crime and public safety. Now, how many years has it been of these cities getting worse and people saying, we want crime and public safety being dealt with? I'm sure for a long time. But also the people have amnesia. And if you just can get them mad about something, they'll go outside in droves and start yelling about defunding the police. And any work for crime and public safety gets undone. But hey, that's the people for you. Homelessness, top concern, huge, top concern for pretty much every resident in the major cities in America. Transit and infrastructure, frustration over unreliable subways, and this one should really go with safety, and because it's unsafe and unclean. Cleanliness in city services, jobs in the economy, and way down here, I bet you some care about this, but this is down here, at least according to Brookings, 8th. Climate resilience, the environment, cultural identity, keeping New York, New York. And I know that matters to people. So now you gather now that across all the cities, left and right, I mean, people care about essentially the same things. They have these main concerns they all care about. So that's pretty much the voters for you, kind of a view of the voters and the scene here. And I find that somewhat important to almost inoculate yourself from propaganda about messaging. It's like, wow, this guy's really going to do affordability. It's like people have been talking about making cities affordable for years. People have been talking about making them safe for years. Left, right, woman, black, like they're playing on. It's a game of politics to summarize. So, what else about this? Let me get to Mamdani here. Zoran Mamdani. Interesting guy, somewhat. Is there much that we know about him just quite yet? I don't know. But what we do know, he's foreign born in Kampala, Uganda. Okay? In 1991. And, born in Kampala, Uganda, emigrated to Cape Town. That's Cape Town, South Africa. So he was down there with the South Africans for a little while. And then finally with the family as a little boy. As a little, I was going to say anchor baby, but that's not true. He's not even an anchor baby. He's just an immigrant. But, with the familia, came to New York City by age 7. His parents, his son of a Columbia University scholar, Mahmoud Mamdani, and acclaimed filmmaker, Mira Nair. His parents educated and somewhat, and somewhat connected from the little bit I could see. That's pretty much a little bit about Zoran Mamdani. He's been an assembly member since 2021 for New York's 36th district. So you could say from 2021, he's been pretty much making his money from public service. Okay. And what else about it? I mean, he's a young guy. Would be the first he would be the first Muslim and first Indian origin mayor, which this is a funny way of putting that. Like, I've just never heard of that. He's the first, someone being an origin or something, like, I don't know, but they're saying he would be the first Muslim and first Indian origin mayor. Like, wouldn't you just say Indian origin? I guess it's just so nebulous, it's this globalist world. The anchor baby relates a bit. when someone asks him, where are you from? It's like, am I really going to go through the diatribe of born in America, moved to Canada, da-da-da? That's globalist nonsense. I'm an American. I'm white. Call it that. You make it easy. We're messing around here, but look. What else about Mamdani? That's pretty much it. 33. And here's basically the major problem with this. In my mind, in my eyes. The major problem with Zoran Mamdani. It's not even that that he wants to use the power of the state, you know. I think he's like an avowed socialist in an extreme way, and that's wrong, but it's not even, you know, that so much. It is the socialism, but it's not even that New York City will collapse. New York will collapse. It's going to turn into, you know, it's just going to get worse. It collapsed finally. Now with a Muslim socialist mayor, oh yeah, now it'll really collapse and people will wake up. People will wake up and there will be an awakening and then they'll vote for a Republican. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I've yet to see evidence of anything like that ever happening. Go to South Africa, where they'll go 8 hours in a day, blackouts. They can't provide power to everyone, water to everyone, clean stuff to everyone. It's crime. There's no collapse. There's no collapse. People go to work if they have work, and the government continues doing what they do, enacting laws, saying we'll have free health care for everybody. We'll have low-income housing for everybody. That's South Africa for you. It's a slow degeneration. And why? Basically, put it like this. Because this is the worst part. Yeah, I'll tell you what the worst part about Mamdani is in a sec. Because you got to understand. I mean, there were people reaching out to me yesterday when I briefly spoke about Mamdani, saying, Nick, there hasn't been demographic. I saw someone say that there hasn't been I said something about demographic change about New York. The change of the makeup of the people, in my opinion, has brought on this possibility for Zoran Mamdani to come in like this. When you look at Ilhan Omar and people like her, think, how can Americans vote for her? That's because she represents her area, her district, which has like the highest Somali-born, Muslim-born population in America. Like 1 in 4 Somalis in the whole country are in her district. It really comes down to that. It's the people and what they want and how they think. 40% of New York City is foreign-born. Did you know that? I mean, not an immigrant child, not an anchor baby, but 40% of all residents in New York, this is according to the 2020 census, the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, USA Facts, Brookings Institute, if I got to give you the citation here. 40% of New York City's population is foreign-born. They were not born there. Now, does that mean they all vote? No, I mean, the estimates say that about 60% of that foreign-born population has naturalized and can now vote in New York, is what they say. So, and what is there to say about that? It means that not just demographic change is bringing about Zoran Mamdani, in my opinion. It's really a coalition of libtards who think Zoran, when he gets on TV, says, I'm going to keep New York, or whatever. And they believe him because they're looking at the news and they say, no, I disagree with these races. I'm not racist. I love my brown neighbor. Not realizing there's an engineering going on, okay? Diversity, you know this word diversity? This is like the big divide and disconnect with this word, because the left basically sees that word as a simple, mere diversity. It's just, I don't hate others, and I'm fine with different people. I'm not so closed-minded. That's what it means to them. But for the right, they know that this diversity word doesn't quite mean that. It means engineered diversity. And this engineered diversity is going to steamroll these stupid libtards. They don't get it. And what am I getting at? It's a coalition of these libtards and these immigrants, the Browns in New York City, straight up. That's just how it goes. For those wondering, white population, New York City. Nick, there hasn't been demographic change in New York. Shut up. All right, buddy. But this is according to American Renaissance. Okay, this is U.S. Census Bureau. I mean, this is not like a shock. It shouldn't be like a big surprise or a big, wow, look at the stats. You could just look at America over the years. Obviously, this line would look like this, white population in New York City. Now, there's a big, there's a quite a steep fall here, from 77% in 1970 in just 10 years. It's an incredible, and in my opinion, engineered change. 77 to 52%. And, now we're at 32% in 2020 of a white population in New York City. That is why. Yeah, the socialist mindset and all that, but these people, he's got the ads reaching out to these people, telling them in their language, I'm going to give you free stuff. You understand? That's what's going on. Okay, it's not even a matter of these policies, although he has some pretty radical ones. I think it sounds pretty radical, right? Nationalizing grocery stores in New York City. Yes. Just let the government handle the grocery stores. An industry that has like 1% to 2% profit margins. Yeah, that's how the government is going to be very efficient and make that work and not screw that all up. But what else to say about this? That is essentially the change that has happened in New York and America and why this is happening. I think it's really there. And it is a coalition, like I said. That I don't think this invasion of non-Americans, then them voting for how their mindset is and bringing their countries here, I don't think that happens totally unrelated to the change in mentality and the suicidal mindset of the American libtard. To be short, I think they're in concert, right? Like the Romans were both lost their cultural identity and were invaded by immigrants at the same time, kind of thing. So where was I? Oh, and he's giving freebies, like I said. And he's giving y'all freebies. And he'll let you know in your language, which is not English and not American. Zoran Mamdani. Here, he's speaking in Urdu or Hindi, and I'll just read the captions. It's not who I'll be, but what I will do for our communities, for every New Yorker. Har ek New Yorker. I'm going to make this city affordable. Affordable banao. New Yorkers are struggling to afford food. Look, folks, yeah, food's getting more expensive. We'll get to that. Roti. He said roti. Oh, I heard that. He said roti. Shout out rotis. I'm down with the roti. New Yorkers मुश्किल से afford कर रहे हैं roti. Roti. I don't think roti is that. The caption says affordable food. Are New Yorkers only eating roti? Anyways, let's move on. Roti, kapda, aur makan. Clothing, shelter. I'm fighting to change that. Rent-free, free buses, universal childcare, and cheaper groceries. But I must ask you. Have you ever voted before? So, man, this feels like Mississauga. This feels like Canada. You don't want that. And so he's giving the freebies. I mean, this is a classic one. You should know this by now, right? Classic conservatism. Call it Fox News point. It's just true. Who do you think pays for all that? It's such a nasty thing because I see through this. It's not even good intentioned. It's political. It's control. And so I get to basically why Zoran Mamdani. Here's the real problem with him. It's not even... Yeah, it's the policies and all that, but here is, at the core, the problem with him, in my opinion, is He's one of these brown strivers. He's one of these brown strivers trying to get up, and he is a representation of legal immigration and the change of the country and the change of the people in the country. He's a representation of the problem with legal immigration, with the problems with migration, especially mass migration, as America has been as it has been inflicted on America for decades. You understand? Yeah, and I'll say this for even people like Vivek Ramaswamy. You know, isn't he running for governor or something like that? You know, it's like, you know, I saw him supporting Trump and all that, and I know he made his money as a smart guy or something like that. It's like, whatever. Like, are we going to sit around and just like, oh, you dumb brownoid? It's like, no, make money, stop being jealous, don't be weird. He's supporting Trump at times, and there's some good things. But I also remember when the MAGA base had their questions about H-1B and all this unfettered immigration that seems to be supported by the GOP, tongue-in-cheek supported by Trump. And so people got their questions, and he came out hard against them, saying they don't get it. I forget exactly how he put it. I think it was particularly interesting. I forget how he put it. I remember he had some good comments about thinking you can't and just having this like loser mentality. I thought he was on it with that. But if you remember, the whole vibe was, I'm going to admonish you, MAGA, because you're not going to allow the browning of America. That's one of the major issues. That's one of the major problems that the Trump base cares about, straight up. Even if they won't say it, even if in other ways. But these, I don't know what to tell you, how else to put it, but these like brown strivers say anything. I get the vibe, say anything to get political power. I mean, you got the Gonzaleses here. There's been Gonzaleses in America for a long time. I'm sure there's many generations now. And yet when they get power and they go and they become vice mayor of cities and towns or whatever in California, they start saying gangs should defend their turf from ICE. You may have seen this on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. But this is what happens. This is what happens with the masses, right? Yeah, there are exceptions. There are a few, but for every one, there's 10 of these vice mayors trying to get in the government, trying to represent their Latinos. And as we've seen with the ICE stuff, there's a large swath of the Hispanic Mexican population that absolutely hates America. And even though they have parents and they may have been here for generations, it was very easy for them to say, nah, the Mexican flag is my flag, not the American one.
Street Florencia, where's the leadership at? Because you guys are
the vice mayor of Cudahy is under federal investigation tonight for this controversial video obtained exclusively by Fox News.
In it, she appears to call several times for local gang members to defend their territory from ICE.
Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf joins us now live from Cudahy with the shocking video. Matthew.
Yeah, the vice mayor today not answering any of our text calls or emails.
She really did call MS-13 to come down on ICE.
As her video gains national attention.
And I heard the FBI went to her house.
Whoever's the leadership over there, just get your members in order.
An explosive TikTok video now the center of a possible FBI investigation in LA County.
Don't be trying to claim no block, no nothing if you're not showing up right now.
For about 90 seconds, City of Cudahy Vice Mayor Cynthia Gonzalez calls on gang members to defend their territory from ICE.
You guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is.
A gang? That's the gang. ICE is a gang.
Proud of you.
The controversy.
She's talking like those gang members. That's how these people talk. That's how those people out there when I was trying to film for the protests and all that. That's what they're talking. They're saying these are the gangs. These are the gang members, the police, the LAPD. And then you wonder how New York becomes a crime-ridden cesspool where you go into a store and literally everything's locked up. And you wonder, why is everything getting so expensive? Oh, it's so weird. Everything's getting so expensive. You mean subsidizing all these people's lives? All these added costs of trying to separate yourself from these people, having to put these locks and checks and balances to this crime because the government won't? And you wonder, how is New York becoming an inefficient, unaffordable? How is America becoming a tough place to live. You wonder all these illegals and all that. There's a house. They say there's a housing shortage and a population crisis, and you wonder to yourself, that's all I need is Mamdani to use the power of the state to freeze the rent. It's like that's how people think, very shallow. And they see, honestly, these foreign-born people see Mamdani, they see him speaking another language. That's it. It's that's that simple. He's here for us. He's finally someone for me. And then you get this. This is London like 10 years ago. Or I don't know, this is 10 years of migration. Look, this is just London. This is a video out of London. I'm just trying to give you videos. This is just expression, religious freedom, right? I mean, I bet you could even have some of that in a world that wasn't so crazy. If in a world that where this wasn't just merely religious expression and just a few of us expressing ourselves. No, this is the precursor or the signs that you're in the middle of a replacement. Okay, I wish it wasn't so. I wish we could just be cool and it's just like we could have like World Food Day and we could learn about each other, but it's just not so. You know what I'm saying? So, what else about this? And I'm going to get to calls right after this. I appreciate everybody calling in here. We got some calls, all calls rolling in. 888-775-3773. What can I say? It's will be an interesting thing. We'll see what happens with New York. Cuomo, Cuomo. I think they'd be better off with Cuomo. I mean, yeah, he could be a Democrat, a socialist. He could be a total liberal. But he's at least like a New York. I mean, I know Mamdani was apparently living there since 7 years old, but Cuomo's a New Yorker, man. Eric Adams is a New Yorker. Like you're better off like that. I honestly believe that. And what else about this? Let's get to some calls. There was this clip. Here's a little side kind of thing. Here's kind of like the side commentary on this. There was this moment with Zohran Mamdani, and it was during this Democratic mayoral debate, this primaries and all that. So check this out. It was a lightning round, and they were asking them about visiting Israel. I'll let you watch it.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right.
So the first I had that volume low. The first foreign, apparently, I didn't know this. I didn't even know mayors went around doing foreign visits. I just didn't know that. But I kind of knew that. I remember seeing like Ron DeSantis and others like go to other countries. But yeah, where will you go for your first foreign visit?
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
Commercial video was shared.
Oh, Lord, sorry.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing.
And so he's like, no, I'm just going to stay here. He says, I'm just going to stay here, actually, and focus on New York. And they didn't let that go. They jump in further. So like, wait, Mamdani, what do you think? Would you visit Israel?
Israel?
That's just strange to me, man. It's just, the question was, where would you go in the world? He says, I'll just stay here. And then they go harder. And they're like, but what do you think about going to Israel?
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel
it's like, what?
Has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
No,
as a Jewish state. Or, are you sure? Hey, it's like they're going harder and harder on him. It's like
it's a state with equal rights.
He won't. He
Not
won't
as-
Okay, but what do you think about? It's like, what is this interrogation all of a sudden?
say it has a right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
And then the other guys start jumping in. Hey, he didn't go pro-Israel in him, huh? Yeah, F this guy, right?
That's what he was
Unlike
trying
you-
to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer
said
questions
no.
very directly.
All right.
I found that whole exchange strange. But that being said, I found it even dumber. I found it strange, but I found the reaction to it so stupid. I'm seeing all sorts of people saying, based? Man, this guy's making sense to me. This guy right here, for example, posting, listen to Andrew Cuomo's, oh, this is Anomaly. Oh, shout out. I'm not trying to go. I like Anomaly, straight up. But okay, he may be a little silly. Look, I mean, at least in this tweet, I'm going to say it straight up. He's saying, listen to Andrew Cuomo's answer here and Mamdani's answer. Maybe this didn't play a factor, or maybe voters are tired of American politicians who obsess over Israel. Like, it's just this little maybe stuff, like maybe. Like, you're not making a real point because you don't really believe that. You really think American-based New York City voters are waking up to Netanyahu and, like, the Israel security apparatus? You're dumb. Like, this is brown-coded. These are Palestinians. These are anti-Israeli. I'm telling you, you're worse off, in my opinion. In my opinion, you're worse off. This is not anything of what you think it is. This is brown-coded. Are you stupid? Just maybe. I'm just asking questions. I'm just wondering. People are starting to wake up. It's like, no, this is the foreign-born people in New York putting on a keffiyeh. So that's it. Look, I want to get to my callers. That's pretty much it. Look. Oh, his wife. His wife is a total cutie. I know this is not news. His wife is a total cutie, I gotta say. She's kind of like, yeah. My girl's kind of like this. She's kind of like a Mexican Rawa. What's her name? Rawa Mamdani? Did she take his last name? What's going on here? Rawa Duwaji? What the? He's a feminist? He's a simp? She didn't take his last name? Rawa Duwaji? Total cutie. Yeah, my girl's kind of like a Mexican Rawa Duwaji. But anyways, let's move on. What's cute about that? You disagree? Hold up. You guys disagree? You're crazy. You're insane. Hold up. We need more evidence. You're telling me this is not an absolute cutie? Okay, now you're acting ridiculous. Hold on. Now you're being ridiculous. Okay, this is a hard picture to see. Can we see this picture better? Come on, M News. What kind of website are you? We're trying to see Rawa Duwaji. 888-775-3773. Let's get to some calls here. Yeah, I don't think she took his last name. Zoran Mamdani wife. Hold up, this is important because y'all don't believe me. Yeah. Tell me, you're gonna tell me I'm wrong? You're gonna tell me I'm wrong? Yeah. You're gonna look me in the eyes and tell me I'm wrong? Hold on. I guess that's his mama. Come on. Whatever, we got enough. Let's move on here. We got calls, topics, super chats, and all that. 888-775-3773. We got Alex out of Tennessee. How you doing, sir? Appreciate your call. Let me unmute you here. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Appreciate your call, sir. You're on the air.
Hey, Nick. How's it going, man?
All is well, man. Thanks for your call.
Nice. So I just had this is kind of reflecting on some of the things you've been saying about the strong man, to take care of or handle a situation for people. And it's interesting because it's almost it seems to me that it's people will seek after a dude in a position to take the role of the father in their life, and they always do, whether they realize it or not. They're always looking for some sort of like guiding leadership person. And it reminds me of how the Jews wanted a king really bad. They're begging God for a king, and He gave them kings, and it didn't work out great for them. Even after they got kings, it's a mess. It maybe have worked for a little while, but then it collapsed again because you're seeking guidance from a dude, and maybe that dude is a pretty good example of how you ought to be guided. But it's interesting how this always takes a different shape, a different form in all situations all over the world. Like a child who's fatherless will seek after somebody who, to them, at least, they perceive them as being strong. They perceive them as having things together, in the sense of they have a nice car, or they got money, or that people do what they say, and then the next thing you know, these kids are joining gangs and all kinds of stuff, and falling around drug dealers and pimps and this kind of stuff. And the same thing goes for like even like atheistic societies where you have it's communist or socialist. There will be somebody who will come up and say, "No, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be your daddy." Right. And then you have these giant statues and murals of Stalin or Mao or Che Guevara or whoever. Is always this dude who's going to come rescue you and save you, and it's like now this is your daddy, this is your God, this is your father, and these people they get lifted up with, and same thing happens on the right with Trump or whoever. And it's interesting too how clever evil is, in that it's wants so much for you to worship some dude, and it could even be Jesse. You know what I mean? And when Jesse goes down, then people are like, "You're it, Nick." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Glaze Fest. Although I don't want to criticize them too much because they just care about Jesse, but I know what you mean.
I know, I do. But it's interesting how clever, the darkness is to try to get you to still attach to something in the world, and worship it as a replacement for like the real fatherly love, and it might even be coming from some genuine location, in terms of like the sense that it's genuine. What you feel feels like it's real. It feels like it's right, because it's this imitation of something.
Even if it's coming from someone that is sincere, you're saying someone could take it that way, anyways.
Yeah, and that's why like it's interesting too, because as Jesse says, Jesus never claimed to be a king. He never claimed to be God, but people put him on that pedestal and made him impossible to touch. And so it was like, well, now you've separated yourself by how you've identified this person to you, and now you'll forever have that distance as long as you believe that to be true. And then you can never actually lead anybody anywhere but into another pit, because you're not really committed to just walking. Does that make sense?
I'm following you. If I may summarize to understand you, are you essentially describing this relationship, how you can even have the truth, say true things, have a person assume that a person is coming from a truthful place, but it doesn't matter. At that last stage of a person's perception, they can warp that in their mind, and it's really the only thing between them and the truth, this thought that they created. Is that what you're kind of saying here? How we could take even Trump's influence or something good and turn it into something that is wrong, right? It would lead others astray. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah. It's kind of like when Jesse says, keep a little space between you and that that person who you admire and respect. Keep a little space so that, you know, you're not putting them on a pedestal in your, you know, in your mind, and you're not identifying them as your savior in a way. You know what I mean? That they are that person can't save you any more than you can save you, really. Whatever the false you can save you. And it's interesting how there's always these replacements for that fatherly love that are made manifest in just countless ways. And there's always this, it's so true that there's this yearning for the love of a father, and people will try to get it in places where they're not going to find it. You know, it's whether it's like in this guy who's running for mayor of New York, or it's in Cuomo, or it's in Al Sharpton or whoever. You know what I mean?
100%, man.
It's funny.
It's hard to find anyone like that, huh? Anyone that thinks for themselves in a sense, and it's hard to find anyone like that.
Yeah, well, and you know what's interesting about like a real father's love is that, you know, when you fall, your mother will pick you up and dust you off, and you know, and wipe away your tears, and you know, and give you a hug. But when you fall, a father will tell you, "Hey, I know that hurts, but get up and walk."
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different way of loving somebody. It's like, you know, your father will help you overcome something, but you know, fathers don't want you to need them. They want you just to walk, just to be, just to live. You know, it's a different kind of thing.
Dynamic, right? You can't. It's not a cookie cutter answer. It's life. It's living.
It's just living. It's just living. You're gonna have to go through whatever you're going through, and go through the fire, and emerge. You know, reborn as the phoenix or something. You know, it's like you need to let it die, let it go, and it's interesting because that's what, like Jesus says. You know, pick up your mat and walk. If you want to be free, you want to be healed. You know.
Do you think there was ever in America, and maybe even a world, but do you think there was ever a time in America that people were maybe essentially more free thinkers? I just look at voters. I look at just America, and it seems like the vast majority, right? They have to look for a leader. They have to look for someone to tell them what to believe and think. And I wonder, has the world always been like that? Was there in America, you think? Do you know, are you a student of history or anything, where there was a time in America where it wasn't like that?
I don't know if there ever really was. I mean, I think there's maybe different amplitudes of that fallen state, or the you know, I would say maybe not completely risen state, but at least not completely laid out on the ground. You know what I mean? Maybe on your knees or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Crawling state of some sort. But it's interesting because I think the understanding of it being a spiritual battle, and that it's not out. The answer isn't outside. It's in looking within. That, I think, is probably the most profound thing that I've seen since, you know, starting on this path, is that the spiritual battle is really where it's at. It's not out there. It's not in free housing, or in, you know, military dominance, or in any of that stuff.
In blaming. In that someone else is the cause of your pain and misery, or your lack of ability. It really is a spiritual battle, man. Yeah, it's one of those things, huh? You even have Christians, it's a common thing. It's one of those basics, no? It shouldn't be one of those basics 101s, Christianity, if I may. The kingdom of heaven is within, etc. But I don't think anyone really thinks about that.
No, I mean, because that I think is the key point that is hard to, and it's interesting too because in the recent history, I would say the past 100, maybe 150 years, science and scientism has really turned people away from the spiritual aspect of existence. They've turned people away from the metaphysical and just made them super hyper focused on the physical world. And the physical world is where the devil can have his way with you. If you don't believe the devil exists, then he's laughing all the way to the bank, because that spiritual warfare, I think was meaningful for a long time in terms of, I mean, obviously there was wars and all kinds of horrible things that humans did to each other, but I think because of the nature of people and being in that fallen state, that I don't know if there's any way to get out of that just general condition when you look out at humanity.
Yeah.
But now that science has become the new thing that is taught to everybody as the only truth that is worth paying attention to, and that there's nothing else that's true, that all this religion stuff is a bunch of superstitious nonsense. That right there, I think, is part of one of the reasons why we see the world in the state it's in. And you see the collapse of the family, and now, the fathers are no longer in their proper positions in the homes because everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have bought into this lie, and now they're stumbling around in the darkness, and they're trying to figure out how to fill that void of the Father's love, and so they look to experts, they look to scientists, they look to political leaders, they look to Elon Musk, they look to all kinds of people, all kinds of quote unquote strong men to lead them out of this thing, and you're not going to get it there. You might get a better situation, kind of like what Jesse said, where some people who are maybe have a better understanding, their culture has more comfortable fruits that fall off of the tree of that culture. They might lean towards that because they're more likely to eat, they're more likely to have a home over their head and a job.
Right.
But that still isn't going to be enough.
And that's not life, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a person to tell you how to live, that's different.
Yeah, it nourishes your body, but there's more in there than that.
And that's a modern malaise too. All the greatest thinkers and scientists, they all believed in God. You think about it seemed to me when I read some of them, they all believed in God, for a long time. It's really a modern thing.
Yeah, this is a very new idea, and it's been being perpetuated for a long time. I just recently kind of been studying some of the history of all that, with respect to the sort of grooming of the population en masse to believe in science as the one and only thing, which is kind of hilarious because science is always proving itself wrong. There's very few theories that have held up completely in science,
which is good, right? I mean, that's the point of this method of science and all that. I mean,
it's always.
I know what you're getting at, man, and I essentially agree. We've become a very sensual people, and what I mean by that is that is our reality, our senses, what we feel, what makes us happy, what makes us sad, and a people like that are just controlled. People don't understand this other plane of existence that essentially controls you. If you're a person like that, you're a dangerous person. That means your buttons are totally open for anybody to press. That's why you have people today that you can affect them with words. That's why we're telling them to overcome words. They're going nuts. There was this video that went viral of this black guy in this airport, going nuts on this guy that he sees online. This person on the internet says the N-word, but he went up to him. He's like, say the N-word. This man was just sitting there doing nothing. You're totally controlled by words. And what is that? That's the spiritual battle you're talking about.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Alex,
it's so crazy to see it.
Yes, sir, man. Alex, appreciate your call, man. Anything else you want to say here before we move the wheels?
No, that's it. I just wanted to comment on the strongman thing because it's interesting.
Is Caesar coming, Alex?
Who?
Is a Caesar coming? Is the age of Caesar coming? Another Caesar?
Oh man, I hope not. But I mean,
right?
What's
that
one
has like
Caesar
that has
compared
like
to the next?
That doesn't necessarily have totally positive implications.
Yeah, what's one Caesar to the next? I mean, you know, I think we'll always have to render under Caesar something,
right?
And under, you know what I mean? But
totally,
the important thing is to render to God what's His. You know.
Alex, always a pleasure, man. Call me again.
All right, you too.
888-775-3773. Let me show you something that let's do it. It's kind of a funny, kind of a silly, but I have to deal with it, folks. It didn't make me happy. And I don't know who this guy is. And I wish him well. Fine, you know, you do your thing. I like the hustle. You do your thing. You make your money. You do what you do. But this is apparently some country music artist. And I got a bit of a bone to pick with him. I think his name is Chase. He's got a little snippet of his tune. Let's listen to Chase. Look, I know White History Month is coming up. And we love the... Look, but we... So at times, there's criticism. Look, you can't act like dumb little... consumer cattle people. Listen to this guy. Let's just play a little snippet of this song. And maybe I'm wrong. You tell me where I'm wrong. Hey, Nick, calm down. It's just a little country song. But I'm livid. And I'm not that mad. But look, I'm going to play a little snippet here. And he's going to sing about his life a little bit, about what kind of guy he is. Hey, rough around the edges guys in the chat. This one's for you. Are you rough around the edges? Oh, my Lord. I just destroyed people's eardrums. My apologies. R.I.P. headphones users. Let's lower that a little bit more. Yeah, sorry about that. Check it out. Are you rough around the edges? Okay, geez. Facebook is an unusable website. Hold on.
I might pour me a drink. Brother Jack and Diet Coke. To hell with what my doctor thinks. My boss keeps on telling me my attitude stinks. But I ain't about wasting my time ironing out those kinks. God didn't make me perfect. Sure as hell won't ever be. I'm a little rough around the edges, but baby, that's fine with me. Rough around the edges.
Rough around the edges. Yeah, Ford F-150. Look. Sorry, I'm nitpicking. I'm judging. I'm wrong for that. Look, maybe music is fine. But, you know, some of these choice lyrics here, right? And my boss keeps telling me I have a bad attitude. You think that's fine? You're cool with that? You think you're cool? You think you're a man? You think that's an awesome thing to be? My boss keeps saying I have a bad attitude, but you know what? F him. I'm rough around the edges. You know, God didn't make me perfect. I'm a Christian. I'll never be perfect, by the way. Let me tell you that in my country song.
I come down for breakfast.
Obviously I'm overreacting, right? I'm obviously overreacting. This is not a big deal. But this is a spiritual battle. And this is what's wrong. White History Month is coming up. Why are country songs a mess?
Pour me a drink. Brother Jack and Diet
Coke. To hell with what my doctor thinks. I mean, I'm not even that mad about that. Okay, just whatever. Like, I'm not here to tell you how to live, but you're going to have a bad attitude at work? And you're just going to think that's a cute lyric?
My doctor thinks. My boss keeps on telling me my attitude stinks.
A stinky attitude is the worst thing. The absolute worst thing you can have as a man. It's absolutely terrible. It's like the least manliest thing. It's death. It's death. And he thinks it's cute.
But I ain't about wasting my time.
Why does he look like you? Is that your cousin or something? Shut up, everything's fake.
Iron out those kinks. God didn't make me perfect.
And there it is. God didn't make me perfect. There's your Christian for you. Oh, I'm just not perfect. I'll never be perfect. I'll just stay with a stinky attitude because God wants me to have a stinky attitude. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Sure
You're trying to tell me God wants you to have a stinky attitude? You think that makes sense?
I won't ever be. I'm a little rough around the edges.
I'm a little rough around the edges. And something like that. How the heck did you even find that video? Is that your bro? And you have him added on Facebook? Stop digging. Everything is fake. Stop asking this. Those are the wrong questions to ask. Hey, by the way, people in the back, can you get line 1? Get line 1 for me. All right. Let's get to some calls. I don't hate him, but this song is bleep. The world is turned upside down. Some people see it. Some people see it hating on his bra. Stop digging. Everything is fake. That's the wrong questions. That's the wrong line of question. You just get out of that. The point is, stop having a stinky attitude, okay? That's not Christian. It's not cute. It's not manly. And stop putting in country songs. All right? Let's get to Tracy out of Pennsylvania. How you doing, sir? You're on the air. Tracy.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Hey, Tracy. Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hey, I hope you can hear me okay.
You're coming in.
Well, that's good. Yeah, so, I don't know, that last caller you had, he seemed like he was pretty smart for a young fella.
Who was?
The last caller you had.
Oh, yeah. Alex. Right on.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get to the point where he's at now. He seems a little bit ahead of the game.
You think you think he's what?
He's a little bit ahead of the game in terms of spiritually.
And what makes you say that?
Well, it took me a while to kind of learn some of the things that it seems like he's learning. For example, my old man had a problem. He lived by the bottle.
Uh-huh.
That's the way it is.
Like alcohol, you mean?
Yeah. And my mother, he said his body was too young for working, too old for working. But I said his body was too young to look like him.
You're talking about your dad still.
And my mother went off and left him.
How long ago was this?
She wanted more from life than he could give.
Ah, it didn't work. How long ago was this?
So I figured somebody had to take care of him, so I stayed home. That's what I did.
Your father, you took care of him? Has your father passed?
Yeah, well, now I got my car, and he's gone, so I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about, taking my car and just moving to the city.
And why do you want to do that?
Well, I figure, maybe I could get a job and finally see what it means to be living, I've been in this small town, and just wasting away for a long time. Figure I'll take my girlfriend and move to the city. We could both get jobs and finally see what it means to be living.
You say you haven't been living up to this point?
No, I had to take care of my old man, my drunk old man for a long time.
How long did you do that for?
I learned those hard lessons that this young kid from Tennessee, he seemed like he learned those lessons before me.
Right. You don't have to say any details you don't want to say. I find this somewhat interesting. How long were you taking care of your father for? How long were you in that situation? And how old are you now, if you could say?
A number of years anyway. I stayed home. That's somebody had to take care of him, so I quit school, and that's what I did.
You quit school. So how old are you now?
I'm 48 years old.
You said 28 or 48?
48.
48. Father died. You had to take care of him for a huge part of your life. And it seems, and you're living out in you said town or something, and you're considering going to a city, and finally starting to see what living is like. What is somewhat of an interesting story. And I find that almost a terrible thing that you had to take care of your father like that. Help me understand. Is that something you wanted to do?
Well,
Or
I was lucky because I met this girl, right at the right time, and she kind of lit a fire under my ass, and she was the one that kind of said, "Hey, maybe we could get out of here. You still got your car. Your father just died. Maybe we could drive into the city. We could both get jobs and stuff, and try to see what it's like to be living."
I mean, why not? You have everything available to you.
So,
if that's something you want to do, it's time to make it happen. So what was it like having to take care of your father all that time?
well, it was just day to day, he would drink, and I would go to work at the convenience store and try to save a little bit of money.
Well, man, I wish you well with all that, man.
Clean up after him and stuff.
Ain't no reason not to make it happen. Look, sir, make it happen, man. And tell me, and let me know about it. Let me know what life is like when you start living it.
She kind of put the ultimatum to me. She's like, you got a fast car. You got a chance to get us out of here.
You are trolling, aren't you? You got me.
Said, we can leave tonight and live and die.
You got
this way.
me.
So,
I got a fast car. How's that go?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know that song. I'm talking about, that song. What's that song? What's that song?
What do you mean?
Come on, what's the next lyric?
What are you trying to say?
What's the next lyric? I want to take
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about there.
No, I'm talking about something else. I heard what you were saying. I got a song in my head. I was thinking of this artist, Tracy Chapman, and that song, Fast Car. It's just a totally unrelated thing. I was just wondering if you knew the lyrics.
No, but I want to give a shout out to Hank because he didn't let the cat out of the bag.
Well, good work, Tracy. Call me again.
Okay, take care, Nick.
Right, he was troll. He's doing a little troll, right? It's a song. He hit me with the song, right? I'm like trying to take it in, right? I'm like, yo, did she have to take care of her dad? See, my old man's got a problem. He lives with a bottle. That's the way it is. He says his body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. When mama went off and left him, she wanted more from life than he could give. I said, somebody's got to take care of him. I quit school, and that's what I did. You got me good, bro. You got me good, buddy. All right. I got more calls I want to get to you. 888-775-3773. Let me do this real quick. I'm perusing the news as I do. And I'm seeing this headline here. Front page, Daily Mail. Big news, right? Iranian sniper sleeper cells. It's scary stuff. He's the Iranian sniper accused of being a sleeper agent, and now his blue-eyed Alabama bride reveals everything. We have Iranian sleeper cell snipers in America? Daily Mail. This is crazy. Playing Call of Duty led to a love match between Morgan Gardner that Morgan Gardner never expected. When she started to play the online game in 2020, known as a violent first-person shooter contest, gamer girl? What? She started playing the game. She didn't think she'd meet her future husband or that he'd be half a world away in Iran. But a friendship that was sparked online evolved into a romance that turned into a marriage between Gardner, a blue-eyed Alabama girl, and Ribvar Karimi, 26 Iranian army sniper who moved to America to be with her and was arrested this weekend as the U.S. waged war with Tehran. Never did I think I was going to meet someone that way. Never did I think I would marry someone from another country, she said. Now the newlyweds are being tested. Karimi was arrested by U.S. immigration officials over the weekend, along with 10 others, as part of what ICE called their commitment to keeping known and suspected terrorists out of American communities. Right on, ICE. Appreciate their work. His wife, who is 7 months pregnant, believes he was unfairly targeted as American relations with Iran continue to fracture. ICE agents came to their home outside Birmingham. I guess there's a Birmingham in America. Claiming he was no longer legally in the country because he'd missed a deadline to file paperwork. In the announcement of his arrest, ICE pointed to Karim's service as a sniper in the Iranian army, an ominous fact given Trump's ongoing warnings about dormant terror sleeper cells who spring up to attack America at any given moment, like the sniper that tried to kill Trump. I mean, just a big leap I'm doing, just a random huge leap I'm doing. I mean, I don't think that guy was Iranian at all, but I mean, you're telling me Iranian snipers are in America? I mean, basically he could assassinate Trump is what you're telling me. This is scary stuff. I'm heartbroken this man wears the American flag proudly. She claimed the first thing he brought when he got off the plane was an American flag. This guy's just an American. The couple disclosed his involvement in the army on his visa application, blah, 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 blah. A known Sunni Muslim. They're claiming he's not a terrorist. He fought against ISIS. He loves this country. So, I mean, that's just this report on Daily Mail. I mean, it's like, what? We got Iranian sniper sleeper cells? I mean, if you've been following some of the, some conservative, I always forget how to say it, commentators, they're out there saying similar things. Be very afraid of Iranian sleeper cells. And look, am I going to be obtuse and say there's no terrorists, there's no people that hate us, and that they're Muslim? No, I'm not going to say that. But I'm just taking this in. I'm taking this in of this like Iranian sleeper cells. There's going to be like a terrorist or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm just taking it and waiting and seeing. That's interesting. Goes on one ear, out the other, reporting the news for you. And that's it. That's one aspect for you. If I may, I'd like to bring up another interesting report. A little fascinating little report here that I can't stop thinking about. You know, and so I'll give you the report and the news and kind of my opinion. But, you know, it's interesting to me, you know. And so this report comes from the Network Contagion Research Institute, NCRI. And okay, so what is it? The NCRI, the Network Contagion Research Institute, was founded in 2018 by psychologist and neuroscientist Joel Finkelstein, headquartered in New Jersey, a nonprofit organization affiliated with Rutgers with its mission to identify, predict, and combat the spread of ideologically motivated threats, such as hate groups, disinformation, extremist content, and conspiracy theories. Okay? And so that's what the NCR does. Okay, well, we got the data, and we're trying to dispel and stop disinformation and extremist content because, you know, that stuff leads to violence and leads to bad things, and we want to combat that. And not only combat it, predict it, which is fine, I think. I mean, I'm down with a little, right? They call it profiling. You don't want to profile. I mean, it's a predictive technique, you know, so to speak. It's just predict. It's a word with a lot of meaning behind it, right? I mean, especially in the age of AI, you start thinking about what predict means. But hey, that's the NCRI, and they're here to stop the spread of hateful ideologies. And Joel Finkelstein here has, you know, a little bit about him. You know, he's collaborated with veterans of the 9/11 Commission, like New Jersey AG John Farmer. Worked with the ADL, partnerships with Rutgers and the ADL, published studies on QAnon, militia movements, online anti-Semitism, racial supremacy, white supremacy. That's what the NCRI and Joe Finkelstein are focused on. Frequently referenced in New York Times, CNN, 538, ADL, Anti-Defamation League. What else about him? That's Joe Finkelstein running the NCRI. So they put out this fascinating little report about false flags. Now, what's a false flag? Okay, historically, it's to denote an event, usually a violent event that was like the precipitating cause for a war, a kinetic conflict. but they call it a false flag when this event was when this event is like faked. They say, for example, the Gulf of Tonkin, right? Wasn't that's one of these false flags that is at this point in history, even right? Even even like mainstream publications openly talk about the Gulf of Tonkin incident being a false flag. So back in 1964, an international confrontation that led to the United States engaging directly in the Vietnam War consisted of a confrontation when the United States forces were carrying out some operations close to Vietnam, and which triggered a response from the Vietnamese forces. You can go read on the Gulf of Tonkin, but they say that that wasn't exactly how it went down. And they say other things, right? I don't need to. I'm trying to explain what a false flag is. Like, do you get it? You get it, right? An event to bring someone into a war, but that event is like falsified. And it's just claims and stuff. They say that, for example, about the USS Liberty, some ship that was owned by the Americans that was near Israel. And at that time, there was a conflict brewing between Israel and Egypt. And Israel wanted America to get in the war and start fighting Egypt. And they say that Israel hit this USS Liberty with this desire, with this motivation in mind. And that's just stuff I heard, okay? That's just a little bit to explain false flags. Here's the report from the NCRI. False flags and fake MAGA. How foreign and inauthentic networks use fake speech to destabilize the right from within. Oh, Lord. There I go again. There I go doing it again where my intro plays by accident. Sorry. I'll get to calls here in a moment. Thank you. So here's the report from NCRI. What are they saying here? They're describing, as this news came about with Iran and Israel and the strikes and all that, they quickly put out this report to inform the public about what? It reads like this. Amid the escalating war with Iran, pro-Kremlin and Iranian state-linked propaganda nodes flooded American social media while masquerading as MAGA loyalists, according to the NCRI. Their coordinated playbook delegitimized nearly every headline as a false narrative, amplified Tehran's lines, and accused Trump of complicity and moral corruption. All these actions were in service of undermining American conservative unity during a time of international instability. They're saying that all the people, there was all sorts of criticism online about Trump and these strikes and all that. Well, that was actually foreign influence at a time when the conservatives need to be together because this is so important, this war stuff, right? We need to be together in this and fighting this, right? So it's just so important to the NCRI that conservatives stay unified. But hey, that's just Tehran, Iranian propaganda, they're claiming. These coordinated efforts exploited what NCRI identifies as a false flag reflex, a conditioned response that turns major atrocities into a trigger for trending conspiracy claims. Our analysis indicates that recent high-profile crises, including Uvalde, October 7th, the Trump shooting, triggered an immediate surge in online false flag discourse, emerging within minutes of initial reports and aimed at recasting the events as evidence of hidden conspiratorial plots, thereby obscuring the true motives and perpetrators. In the days following these crises, Kremlin-affiliated propagandists and Iranian state-linked media were able to rapidly inject narratives that were taken up by MAGA imposter influencers, who then injected them into MAGA-branded spaces, often within minutes of breaking news. What are they saying here? They're basically saying in this report that there's all this events going on, and we're noticing online there's all sorts of people talking about false flags. And is spreading this false narrative and recasting events, like they say, as evidence of hidden conspiratorial plots. I mean, what are they saying here, folks? They're essentially saying that all these people online are suddenly talking about false flags, So basically, if like an attack happens, like an Iranian sleeper cell or some terrorist attack happens, yeah, don't believe them. Don't believe them when they start saying it's a false flag because, they're just Iranian state-linked people. So when they're, should there be, no one's talking about it. I mean, I'm just saying, this is the NCRI. No one's going to know the future, but, just in case if a bombing happens, don't just assume that it was a false flag, folks, because here we are reporting to you that it's just a bunch of propaganda online. Is anybody else looking at this like, what the F is this? This is strange, folks. Hey, calm down. Hey, but if there's a bombing tomorrow, don't instantly think it was a false flag. It's like, calm down, guys. It's probably terrorism, and it's probably that because we're reporting on all these propagandists online. Whoa, bro. So I'm, it's just strange, folks. I mean, I would avoid large public gatherings maybe for a bit. Like, that's freaking weird. Okay. But anyways, that's the NCRI. Let's get to Justin out of Fullerton, California. Appreciate your call. You're on the air. Hey, Justin Fullerton.
Thanks for taking my call, Nick. Appreciate it.
All is well. Go ahead.
So how cool is it that our president can just press a red button and get himself a nice Diet Coke when times are in distress? How nice
Hey, what are you talking about?
Well, so like J.D. Vance, he just recently had a speech and he talked about he reminisced how it's very cool that we have a president who can actually, in a time of distress, press a red button, which is, like on his desk, and order a Diet Coke. Not nuclear. Like he kind of laughs and plays with the notion of being able to press, a button that typically is for nuclear, but it's for actually a Diet Coke.
Are you telling me he has an actual button in front of him for this?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought you were playing around. Where you?
Nope.
So you're telling me Trump
100%.
has a button in front of him? It's like a big red button. It looks like a nuclear bomb button, but it's actually the Diet Coke button.
Yes. And I think that this is the coolest president who has levity and the humor to know that in times of distress, get yourself a nice Diet Coke and things will be all right.
Chill out, man. Have a Coke. It was the Diet Coke button. J.D. Vance recalls hilarious moment with Trump inside Oval Office. Yeah. I guess this is the news, huh? Yeah. Hey, Diet Coke button. That's my president.
Yeah. That's really what we got to look at it like, honestly, because Iran and Israel, they've been fighting a war probably before Coca-Cola was even founded. So let's understand that, first off. And let's also have a little disparity between what they might want to accomplish as victory and what we in America just really want it to be. A nice, casual summer day in 2025 where people came to their senses and peace was what they really gravitated toward.
Totally. I love the guy. I always have, and more I see, the more I see him, he's definitely an American legend and the spirit of America in a sense. So I get it, man. I love the guy too.
Yeah. That's all. So I still on the Trump train. Let's keep it going.
Right on, Justin. Appreciate your call, sir.
All right.
Have yourself a Diet Coke. Right on. 888-775-3773. Yeah, I hear Trump loves them Diet Cokes. We got amazing super chatters here. Thank you so much, everybody. Fire Opal with the generous donation. Mario Baldo says, good job for saving Jesse, Nick. You're a hero. Thank you, Mario Baldo. You would have done the same. Steven, appreciate that with a super chat, a little guy sending a coffee. Very supportive as always. Thank you. Lin Yan Chin with the earlier super chat. Thank you for that. It reads, yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of Mama, I shall fear no emo. Thy blouse and thy sparkle shall comfort me for all the days of my prancing like the fallen prince. R.I.P. Joel the Married. Shout out Linya and Chim, man. Appreciate the super chat. Always supportive and creative. Thank you. Shout out Rumble viewers. Hey, G Fontes, thank you. Says, that's false. There used to be a red telephone on the Resolute desk, but no nuclear launch buttons of any kind. Just clearing something up there. Thank you, G Fontes. But yeah, thank you, my members, lovely members on Rumble who are supportive. Creighton, shout out there. How you doing? Amazing. We got some coffees too, I think. Buymeacoffee.com/anchor baby. Eric, did I read this last one about the dating thing? Eric said, you don't see men dating for marriage and children. You see men in situationships to get laid. No one wants to pay full price for a car with 100,000 miles. Yeah, Eric was describing, and I think pretty accurately, this notion. It's like, where have the men gone? They're saying the articles are coming out saying men have retreated from intimacy, from marriage, from all these places. It's like, Eric gets it. No, it's because there's no attention on what the women are doing wrong. That's how it went bad. So what else here? Let me see. Let's get to more calls. 888-775-3773. We got Anthony out of SoCal. How you doing, sir? You're on the air.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course.
I was curious, what was that last article? You know, this unrelated to what I want to talk about, but what were you just reading about the false flags? I barely missed it.
It's a report from the NCRI. Let me just pull it back up, and you could read it for yourself. The Network Contagion Research Institute. And they put out this report about, and it's titled False Flags and Fake MAGA, How Foreign and Inauthentic Networks Use Fake Speech to Destabilize the Right from Within. It's this NCRI report.
And sorry, I'm taking note of that. Thank you.
No problem.
Wow, and I mean, you're a young guy. What do you think about that? How do you interpret something like that in this political climate?
Well, I try not to make predictions and interpretations like too far, but put it like this. I let it go in one ear and out the other. For example, I let all these like reports I'm seeing of Iranian sleeper cells and terrorists, I let that go in one ear out the other. I still watch myself and try and be aware and not be at dumb places at dumb times, right? So that goes in one ear and out the other. And then I see this report of the NCRI basically saying, telling us to, hey, if there's a bombing, it's not a false flag. And so, I take that in and I let it go in one ear out the other. But to summarize, that's how I read that report. To me, it came off as someone saying, hey, by the way, if there's a bombing tomorrow, don't just think it's a false flag. What does that make me think? What does that make me think? It makes me think that there's a false flag coming. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my impression. That's my sincere impression. When someone says something like that to me, if someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, Nick, by the way, if your phone gets stolen tomorrow, it wasn't me." I'm gonna think that if my phone gets stolen tomorrow, it was the person who said that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just me being a mere person, if I may.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, man. It's good not to act on that. Typically, it seems like it elicits an emotional reaction, kind of like a bait. But it reminded me from our last discussion when we were talking about the funny business we had in Iran. I remember when I remember learning, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but when Mossadegh was basically when
what was that name you just said?
Mossadegh. He was Mossande.
Is this like a historical figure?
He was the guy we overthrew with MI6, CIA. Not we, sorry, the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Overthrew with MI6 when currently BP, but at the time was the Anglo-Iranian oil company. Basically, he was a guy that we overthrew and replaced with that Shah because he wanted to audit the royalties being sent to Iran because he thought that the Brits were taking more than they agreed on.
I see.
So basically, he wanted more transparency, and then MI6 CIA came in and just basically, really what they did, looking back at it, it's very similar to like, not the narrative in that article, but there's controlled oppositions, controlled riots. These are like known events, especially when we're dealing with Iran for some reason. Seems like the strategy of British intelligence. But I was just going to say that reminded me a lot of really what was going on like 80 years ago with all this narrative of false flags, because those were false flags, which initially created the catalyst to overthrow Mossadegh, install the Shah, so that the Brits have more control over oil.
It's definitely a strategy, right? Are you do you find it like an immoral strategy or something?
Moral, I mean, war is deception. I'm starting to learn more.
I'm not against false flags. I mean, the
Yeah,
American Empire was started with a false flag, allegedly. They say
elaborate.
Okay, so America basically got themselves started after this. They say America was able to carve out a huge part of the world and their wealth and all that after this Spanish-American War. You know, the Spanish and the Americans had a war. Okay,
right.
And but the way this war kicked off, and I'll have to look into it myself too to really flesh out what I'm saying here. But the point is I've heard this from a couple of people that America got their empire started thanks to this war, and how that war started was an alleged false flag, and it was the Americans that did it, right? The Americans had a boat or a ship, and it was just basically a false flag. Oh, the Spanish attacked us. Now we're gonna do this war, and and in many ways, at least according to some very smart people I respect, that it was that kicked off the American empire, and there was so I wonder if you ever thought about that.
Oh,
yeah, it's an interesting thing, no? So in terms of strategy, I'm not like morally against a false flag. It's just it's a reality. And then you get this NCRI report. I'm not a person who reads that like, oh, okay, well let me just go and just go to, oh, thanks NCRI. There's no false flag happening then. No, I don't take it like that.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing about history.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, I don't. My mind doesn't even go to give it a moral or immoral property. I think that's like for
shallow,
some reason,
really.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to war and you want to start saying this is moral, this is immoral, or moral and immoral, that's ridiculous. But whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, fascinating. I didn't know some of that. I was actually asking my audience, and I've been meaning to get into it because I heard about Iran's renaissance, no hijabs and all that. But that was like during the Shah, and that was installed in the West. And I was wondering what it was like before that. I guess this is the thread I should pull on, Mossadegh and his removal.
Yeah, dude, check that out, because I think I thought what he was doing is legit. Like, he was imprisoned for quite a while, if I recall correctly, by the previous Shah at the time, because he had communist influences, and it goes back to the Waft Party, which is basically a Russian-influenced communist resistance party in Iran in the late 1800s, early 1900s, if I recall correctly. But so there's a lot of communist influence on Iran, which kind of shapes how it's aligned with Russia today.
Fascinating. You'll have to do your research, folks, and all that. You know how it is with information and callers, but
yeah. Disclaimer. Yeah. Please research. It's really interesting. But I just want to talk about my purpose of the call was, I know I talk about maybe I talk about these things too much, but that mayor saying he would go to the Holy Land. I talked about this on Hake's show, and I want to say this because I don't think people are informed about the reality of this. And I'm not approaching this from a biblical angle, like, oh, it's the Jews' land, whatever. I'm just saying that the Muslims, if we do approach it from that angle, they have no right to that land. And what was it? It was the West Wall. So you know what the Muslims call the West Wall, Nick?
Forget. I think I'm somewhat familiar. Is that the same as?
It has a similar.
Oh
name
yeah, no,
to one
I
of
know the
our-
Western Wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the same one?
So
the one in Jerusalem?
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's the Wailing Wall.
The Wailing. Yeah. I'm familiar.
Yeah. So the Muslims claim that they have rights to that land, and I talked about this on Hake's show a little bit, but
I missed
just to educate people, please confirm me, look into this. But when the Prophet Muhammad, the so-called prophet, rode his flying donkey into Jerusalem before riding it into heaven and meeting Moses and all them, he parked Barak, his donkey, on that wall. And that's why that wall is theirs. You think if you guys think I'm joking, look it up. So here we go. The Jews have claimed history of the Temple of Solomon. They have archaeology. They have all these physical proofs that point back to them having some kind of historical ownership. Whether that translates into the modern world, I don't care about that, but I'm just saying. The Muslims, though, their only relationship to that wall is parking a donkey on it, bro. What world are we living in, guys?
And then this is what I find so funny about religion, because you tell me something like that, but then you look at the world and it's masses of people fighting, killing, crying, believing. You know what I mean? And that's how people are. People are so silly and shallow, and they think their beliefs are all these things, and they're just silly stories. That's so weird, man. Interesting, man. I'll look into it, but yeah.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, look into it, man. So I thought it was interesting how, he's a really excited, I'll make it quick. He's a really excited mayor or whatever, but to me, he blew his cover when he said I'd go to the Holy Land or whatever. Because, I mean, if you're an intelligent Muslim, first of all, you become an ex-Muslim because you realize it's the foundation of religion is totally fabricated. But the other thing, and one last thing I'll say is interesting, and I learned this a while ago, so confirm me on this, but the Muslims initially went into Uganda actually before the Christians. Did you say he's from Uganda?
That's right. He said he was born in Uganda and lived in Cape Town and then moved to New York at 7 years old.
Yeah, so I know on Hake and Just So you guys talk about transatlantic slave trade a lot. Do yourself a favor and look into the Oriental slave trade, please. It lasted over 1,000 years. It started coincidentally when the religion of Islam started. I don't know why a slave trade would start by the people that founded the religion, but and it lasted for over 1,000 years. And so the Arabs were going to Uganda, and this is what you should research, confirm it. But I believe it was for the ivory and for the slaves. So
valuable.
So yeah, but very. So when Americans, we or at least the Europeans, they go looking for natural resources. Other groups of people go looking for humans and slaves. So it's just a different perspective I want to add. But yeah, that's
thank
what
you,
I
man.
want to talk
A little history for you there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate your call.
I appreciate your show. Keep up the great work now.
Yes, sir. Call me again. Amazing. So what else here? What else do we got for you? We got more calls. Incredible. Okay, what else here? John Zimmer with his generous donation. Thank you, sir. Says men, quote unquote, he puts that in quotations, men trying to get laid, I just vow, are acting beta of fallen mama spirit. John Zimmer just told you, okay? You heard it, he told you. You didn't like it. You didn't like it. It caused you pain, but you know it's true. Let's see here. What else here? Let me get to another call. Thanks for holding. We got Jaime out of Minnesota. How you doing, sir? On the air.
Yo, what's up, Nick?
Hey.
Are you tired of winning yet?
I'm going to say it. Are you tired of winning?
Congratulations on bombing Iran's nuclear program into the Stone Age.
You know, there's reports that that's not true. You seen this?
I've heard Trump talking at the NATO thing just now. He says
I haven't seen that yet.
Marco Rubio says it's true. Pete Hegseth says it's true.
Oh, so they're saying, so Trump and Pete Hegseth and all these people went on at this NATO summit to say that the nuclear facilities were in fact destroyed?
Yeah, they said they were getting asked questions, and they said it's obliterated.
Wow, that's actually interesting because I saw this DIA report on the nuclear facilities, and all I'm saying here is that it's interesting that the Defense Department report that there's a rift between Trump and maybe at least some sections of the U.S. intelligence. To me, that doesn't say much besides that that we have people in our government that disagree with Trump, and that's why I trust him. So it's an information war. You know, it's a matter of this is kind of an important little fact, right? Did the nuclear facilities get destroyed or not? It sets up the stage for further conflict, etc. So, just trying to describe to the audience why it's important.
Yeah, I mean, you can calculate the tonnage of the bombs that they dropped, like 30,000 tons apiece, and over a dozen of them. And calculate that down into a mountain. You blow it up, and you know how things shift when you blow something up that deep. It gets buried. They got tunnels in there. They got rooms in there. It's like a mine shaft that collapsed. You ain't going back in there. You can start digging for it, but everything that's in there has been collapsed on. All the equipment destroyed. You have 10 tons of rock drop on your equipment. The equipment's garbage now. Can't reuse it. You have to make new stuff.
Fair enough, man.
That's the end of the war. There's no World War III. Forget about it. Iran ain't going to war with ground troops. Israel took out their air defenses easy. And they ain't going to get no nuke. So what are they going to fight with, ground troops? America's got Reaper drones. They ain't going to send nobody to the ground, fight that way. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, man, and there's reports that are coming out saying, seemingly showing just how bad the position Iran is in, militarily, strategically. It may have been a lot of show on their end, but put it like this, Justin, in your estimation, you know, it does seem like Trump's ceasefire is holding. It may be signs of a longer peace and definitely no World War III, at least, you know, no real conflict like that, at least for now. But when you look at Iran, you know, they got their nuclear facilities blown up, and whether they got their nuclear capabilities hampered to up to 6 months, or if they totally destroyed them, you know, whatever the truth is on that, don't you think do you see the Iranians giving up in a sense? Like, do you see this conflict gone, like fizzled out? Like it's like now we're all happy, time to go home, or what do you think about that?
We'd have to talk about the supreme leader. Is the supreme leader ready to give up? And in those three areas, those three locations, they had thousands of centrifuges. These things are expensive to make. They made them, and it takes time to make those centrifuges. And we're talking like 6,000 of them spread apart in all of them, okay? Now, to make 6,000 of them is not going to take 6 months. It's going to take years. to make all that. And they're expensive. It's going to be a lot of money. If these guys had another 6,000 centrifuges all ready to go, then yeah, you could say it's going to take them 6 months. It ain't going to take them 6 months. It's going to take them forever to start all over again. And those centrifuges were running while, this attack happened. So their material was in there, getting concentrated, their uranium.
Gotcha.
Stuff's all buried in there.
They're fissile material, which is the important thing to get rid of.
Right.
So, I mean, there are reports saying they moved it, that they might have other places, but I mean, these are all just these reports that we're getting.
But
I don't know. I mean,
how would
hope
they
you're
move?
right. I think you're right. You might be right.
How would they move material that's getting processed?
See, now you're
it's
asking.
Being processed.
Now you're asking the right questions. Now you're asking the smart questions. Yeah. How does this stuff actually get moved around? How does it get transported? Yeah. These are the questions to ask. These are good questions.
It's not like a floppy disk you can just pull out and run with it.
And how is it monitored? How does our intelligence gather this kind of information? Yeah, those are the right questions to ask. Jaime, I sure hope that that's what it is. But here's my question: whether it's going to take them, whether because of these strikes, it's going to take them years and years or just months. Do you see this? Do you see them as doing it anyways? Whether it takes them years or not, otherwise, like they're still an adversary. They still see Israel as an adversary. They're still. What do you think about that? Because in my mind, when I take in that core reality, you realize it's only like a temporary thing. Like unless a deeper thing happens in Iran or whatever. Like it's just a push it down till later, which is fine. I think that's amazing. I think that takes strategy, strength, will to push a war down the road that these people really want to have. That being said, don't you see it as do you see it as an inevitability? In my mind, I can't get that out of my head. As it stands now, I see it as an inevitability.
Well, we can only go by the information that we have, and it's all up to the Shah, the supreme leader. What does he want to do? What is he saying? What is he doing? What are the moves he's making?
Mm-hmm.
It's up to him. What does he want to do?
All right.
I don't know yet.
Right.
Myself,
Me neither.
I'm not on his Twitter, but I guess I could check it out later.
We'll definitely watch him, man, and thanks for some of this commentary, sir. Anything else you want to say before we end the show?
Could I get metaphysical with you real quick?
You trying to get metaphysical with me? Aye.
It doesn't matter what religion you are. From dust you came, and from dust you'll return. That's the law. And there's a
mic drop.
All evidence leads to that. Everything in reality shows that we all return to dust, no matter what we believe. So it's not really worth something to fight over, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Buddhists. It's not worth fighting for.
I think that's a fine message for the people, folks. Hi, my man. Thanks for your call. Call me again.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye.
All right, folks. That's the show. 888. Oh, no. No need for that. We're done. I hope you enjoyed the show. I had fun. Appreciate all the super chats, the commentary, the support, the callers. We did the topics. We did the super chats. We did it all. And that's it. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby. Thursday's already here. We got Bible Thumper Thursday. We got, Hake Report and more. So I'll be back tomorrow. Comment on show. Oh, Jamil, man, I'm ending. I got to go. We'll get to you. Call me tomorrow, Jamil. Sorry about that. But anyways, take care, folks. I'm saying goodbye for real now. I got to go. I'll see you tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby. Take care. Peace. Oh, little Nick too. He's got to say bye. Bye.
The views, information, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this show are the individual's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the JLP Network or Bond. Their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The JLP Network and Bond name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.